Well, all righty then. Okay.
Good job.
Hello, everybody on Rumble. Right in 3, 2, 1. Welcome. It is Perilous World Radio. David Masters here. I'm going to start today with a quote. Great spirits have often encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. The mediocre mind is incapable of understanding the man who refuses to bow blindly to conventional prejudices and chooses instead to express his opinions courageously and honestly. Who said that? Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. You can answer on the chat if you'd like. Yeah, we are in a day and age where truth, more than any time since the time of Moses, I would imagine, is the enemy. Truth is the enemy. Isn't that weird to think about it that way? That somehow truth itself could be an enemy of the forces that are operating within our world. But of course, truth is the ultimate enemy of lies and evil. Yes, thank you, GWC Rumble. Albert Einstein. Great spirits always encounter violent opposition from mediocre minds. Now, you want to hear, I'll give you a perfect example of a mediocre mind. I mean, this is the quintessential example of a mediocre mind.
We can stop fascism. We are at a point where we can, this is a crossroads, it's an existential crossroads, and we are people who can help determine which way humanity goes. What a great gift. What a tremendous opportunity. We're just so lucky. We have to use it with every ounce of intelligence and courage and wherewithal we have, because you're absolutely right. This is it. This is it. And, I just think COVID is God's gift to the left.
Yeah, this
is a terrible thing to say. I mean, I think it was a very difficult thing to send down to us, but it has ripped the Band-Aid off who he is and what he stands for and what is being done to average people and working people in this country. We can see it now. People who couldn't see it before, they see it now, and we have a chance to harness that anger and make a difference. So I feel so blessed to be alive right now.
Who is that? Who is that ultra mediocre mind saying such god awful things? Anybody? Anybody in the chat recognize that voice? Can you imagine thinking that COVID was a gift from God? Mediocre. I don't know if that's even the right word for somebody that stupid. And by the way, the word stupid is not a put down. There's a definition. Let me just find it real quick. Yes, thank you, GWC Rumble again. Ding, 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 ding. Jane Fonda. Eyes to see. Jane Fonda, thank you. Let me see if I can find the definition of the word stupid, because it's really interesting. It is not a put down. It is an observation. Stupid meaning. Here it is. Having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. I mean, hello. Come on. Showing or lacking having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Can you imagine thinking that COVID was a gift from God? Unfortunately, 12 million people that we know of, it could be a lot more, but the numbers of people that died as a result of COVID. Now, I wonder when people are that stupid and that mediocre, if they realize that there is well, maybe just I guess for lack of a better word, a curse that goes on them for thinking such thoughts. Because, thought precedes action for the most part. Now, there are stupid people that don't even think about what they're doing, and they just follow whatever impulse or instinct that they have. But thought, generally speaking, does precede some kind of action. And so there is a consequence. There truly is. Thinking itself, yes, thinking itself is consequential. Where does it say in the Bible, as a man thinketh, a man or woman? Roy Masters has something to say about this.
I think if you find it in church or in a synagogue or a mosque, well, you're a very blessed person, because all the words are there, all jumbled up. And the bits and pieces are everywhere, like a great big jigsaw puzzle. And then you have a minister or teacher, rabbi or imam playing with the words, and you never get to see the real meaning of anything. You just belong to a club. And then you think you are close to God, but yet each faction will kill one another, if you know what I mean. Each one will say, I'm closer to God than anyone else.
Mass formation psychosis is essentially what is being described there. Mass formation psychosis. And you got somebody like Jane Fonda. And if you take a look at the left in general, it's true of, my dad was saying, yeah, it's true. If you go to a church, you can become a part of a mass formation. And Matthias Desmet, who wrote an entire book about mass formation, says this.
As soon as you understand that the mechanism of mass formation is identical to hypnosis, then you also understand that mass formation in the end boils down to a population that is in the grip of a voice. And if the only voice that speaks out is the voice of the leaders of the masses, then the masses will become more and more fanatically convinced that they have. Yes, that is the first rule of all propaganda: make sure that you're the only one who speaks out. So to have a huge aggressive potential, and hence the population accepts that this small group imposes unilaterally its social contract to the population. A totalitarian state is based on a completely different psychological mechanism. It's based on the mechanism of mass formation, of this mass hypnosis.
Mass hypnosis. You see them? You see them rioting out in front of ICE facilities. They are lemmings, but they choose. See, there's a difference between a person who has instinct driving them. There's a difference between that and a choice. But the choice here is clear. They reject truth. They reject truth. And like Einstein said, great spirits always encounter violent opposition from mediocre minds, also known as stupid people. And again, yes, having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Sad. And they're the ones that call us names, all kinds of names, Hitler and Nazis, and I don't know. I don't I don't care what they say, honestly. But the reality of a person who has rejected reality means that they cannot help but fall into a mass formation of rejection of reality. This is what it is. I mean, Nazis were part of a mass formation, right? The Christians are part of a mass formation, but it is a positive mass formation. It is a mass formation based on repentance and awakening and the principles that Christ brought to us. But the flip side of that is very, very dark. When I come back, I will play some more clips of Roy Masters' evil and its influence. Yeah, evil has influence. Now, if you have a firewall for your mind, and you may think you do, but when you find out what the firewall really is and does, you will find greater resilience than you ever imagined at FHU.com. It's called Be Still and Know. I'll be right back. And welcome back. And you know, here's one thing I want to say about stupid. If a person can recognize the idea that they lack common sense, I don't know about lacking intelligence. I think there are people, I think intelligence is innate, but something interferes. Their signals are scrambled, interfered with during a certain point in time, and their intelligence is disabled. It's like these directed energy weapons that the military used to get Maduro. It made them sick. They weren't able to function. There's a directed energy weapon of evil that we are dealing with in our world. It's called temptation. And that's one part of that equation because it's also weaponized. Temptation is weaponized. And you know it. It's weaponized in food. It's weaponized in relationships, sex, love, business. Temptation is weaponized in every level of our existence. It's created and designed by the dark side to penetrate us and compromise us. And that is really the end of that story. So intelligence, I don't think, is necessarily a part of this definition of stupid. But I think that lacking common sense is a key. What happened to common sense? What happened to a person's natural common sense? My dear friend, Jerry Doyle, he used to joke because he was a smoker and he never got a handle on that. He was a wonderful guy, by the way. Jerry Doyle, amazing human being, really good heart, but had compulsions, some bad ones. But he said, my mom always told me, don't put something that's on fire in your mouth. That's not stupid. There's intelligence behind that statement. But common sense, when common sense gets thrown out the window, people do all kinds of crazy things. So let's not judge them. I mean, we need to observe and see people for what they are. And you have to realize that people are broken. And that's not an excuse. That's just not an excuse. Not being broken is not an excuse. Everybody comes into the world with challenges and issues and doubts and fears and so on. And we are all born to succeed, but we are programmed to fail. And the programming has to begin to undermine our common sense, our ability to see things for ourselves and see reality for what it is. When your common sense is compromised, you begin to see the world as you are. So everything is seen through this, you might call it a narcissism lens. You know what I'm saying? And there are people that you know right now who can't help but look at everybody and everything through the lens of how it affects them first, and then everything else second. So there you go. Here comes another Roy Masters. The persuaders are always after us.
I was watching a program this evening. It's called The Persuaders. And it's the kind of stuff I've seen before, and it's the kind of stuff I know all about. I watched how the executives and the advertising agencies are looking for ways to hold your attention. You get pictures of Times Square with all the lights and all the billboards and all the photographs and all of the personalities everywhere advertising. Everyone says, buy me, look at me, so on and so forth. And there's such a jumble that there's a scramble to get people's attention. I was remarking to my wife, well, all you have to do is have one picture up there, Saddam Hussein or Adolf Hitler, and you make it a cult.
See a mass formation. Big Brother, remember? 1984? Big Brother? And Big Brother's picture was everywhere, reinforcing the conditioning and the programming of the rules and regulations. Double think, and thinking for yourself was forbidden. Boy, I'll tell you, feels like we're living in that space now. Yeah, it feels like we are living in that space. That somehow being able to even perceive the truth makes you an enemy. And the love of the world makes you an enemy of your creator, objectively speaking. Now, Jordan B. Peterson, a brilliant man. Here's what he says.
The first question might be, why should you even bother improving yourself? And I think the answer to that is something like, so you don't suffer any more stupidly than you have to. And maybe so others don't have to either. It's something like that. Like there's a real injunction at the bottom of it. It's not some casual self-help doctrine. It's that if you don't organize yourself properly, you'll pay for it, and in a big way, and so will the people around you. Now, and you could say, well, I don't care about that, but that's actually not true. You actually do care about that, because if you're in pain, you will care about it. And so you do care about it, even if it's just that negative way, It's very rare that you can find someone who's in excruciating pain who would ever say, well, it would be no better if I was out of this. Sort of pain is one of those things that brings the idea that it would be better if it didn't exist along with it. It's incontrovertible.
Incontrovertible. You can't find an argument against the idea that pain exists to awaken you. It's actually the whole reality of pain, because there are people who have a condition to where, I think they just made a movie about this, that you don't feel pain. Well, that's very dangerous, just on a physiological level, because if you don't feel pain, you wouldn't know that you broke your leg or you cut yourself. You wouldn't even notice it unless you broke your leg. Oh my gosh, I'm having trouble walking. My leg. Or, you cut yourself somewhere and you're bleeding out. Pain is so valuable for life. And I'll tell you one more thing. God takes you away from what is taking you away from him. So pain, that kind of pain, that's the kind of pain that is liberating. Oh yeah, well, you may be attached to things, people, places, whatever, but if God really wants you, he's going to take you away from what is taking you away from him. He's going to bring you home. Quick break here, FHU.com. The pain is incontrovertible. You can't argue against it. FHU.com. And welcome back. Yeah, if you will simply embrace the lessons in pain, they will teach you. Pain, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Now, the teacher is not necessarily a human. The teacher can be many, many things. Pain is a great teacher. Failure is a fantastic teacher, because it can show you what you're doing wrong. Now, if you don't want to see that, then you end up trying to run over an ICE agent with your car, and you sacrifice your life to that stupidity. That's not commonsensical to try to run somebody over, or even without even intending to. If you're just trying to get away and you run somebody over, you don't even have to have the intent to run somebody over. If you're just trying to get away, think about that. Think about it. Pain is there for a reason. And I will tell you one thing that I believe very, very deeply, that pain, once you understand it, it's a message. It's coded. There's a code. Morse code. You know, a lot of people don't understand what Morse code is. Dot dash dot. And yet Morse code was used, I believe, during the time that the Titanic struck an iceberg. Messages were being sent back and forth. Think about what I'm saying, though. Pain is coded. It's a type of spiritual code that relays a message to you. But see, again, I guess I have to go back to the definition of stupid. Having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. If you are not one who is willing to pay attention, and again, you know, people that are into drug abuse, smoking, drinking, vaping, eating, I mean, overeating. Oh my gosh. I look at people that use food as a drug, which is probably the most deadly of all the drugs. How many people have diabetes and so on and so forth. But, you know, you can see the trajectory of somebody who is 100 pounds overweight. You could see the trajectory of a person who has purple hair and a nose ring. You can see trajectories of people, and the ones that you can't see, they have what you might call secret sins. But you can also see the vanity, right? I mean, the vanity, isn't it one of the 7 deadly sins? I don't know. But the vanity that drives them, and then they go toward the plastic surgery, and they go toward all these superficial things. So, yeah, and they're willing to go through the pain. You know, when a person is 100 pounds overweight, life is harder, for sure. Harder to get around, harder to be comfortable, harder to sleep, harder to have relationships, you know, meaningful relationships, lasting. I don't know. When you're 100 pounds overweight, life is harder. And the difficulty of life, your feet hurt, your back hurts. The difficulty of life is telling you something. It's like saying, wait a minute, slow down. Step back from the extra portion. Life is screaming at you. But this is the choice that people have to make about whether or not they want to pay attention, or they want to deny the messages that are being screamed at them by their own body. Anxiety is another one. People have anxiety. When people are doing and thinking the wrong things, the conscience is screaming at you. What are you doing? Step back from the wrong thinking. It's saying to you in its own way. And the pain, the anxiety, the evidence, and then do you cover it up or do you face it? Right? Do you face it? Do you say, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to continue to try to escape from reality anymore. Let me face what I need to face and deal with it properly. Now, sometimes it takes years to face a single thing. It can take you half your life, depending on what it is. right? But at the same time, once you finally do turn around and face what you need to face and deal with it in the right way, things change fairly rapidly. I mean, especially when it comes to anxiety and fear and self-judgment and judgment of other people. When you're ready to turn around and face it, then you may have spent 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years in this condition of trying to assuage the anxiety or the pain or the fear, whatever. And all of a sudden, all of that time is erased. And so here's another thought for you. I'm going to play this. This is, I've played this before, but I find this is fascinating.
There is no time.
Okay.
Period. Have you ever been to the past or the future?
Thought. Past is thought.
No. You think of the past, but you think of the past now. Have you ever actually been to the place called the past that you think about?
No.
It's not possible. Nobody's ever been there. It's a belief.
Ah, the belief. The belief. There is no past. Well, you only have a memory of it. There's an experience that you had that your brain categorizes. And I did write something about this. The brain does not sense time directly, lacking any dedicated sensory organ or receptor attuned to the passage of time itself, unlike vision, hearing, or touch. Neuroscience research constantly shows that there is no centralized internal clock ticking away seconds in the skull. Instead, time perception emerges indirectly through the detection and passage of change, motion, and events in the environment. See, you've taken in your environment and you've called that reality, but you've also interpreted it. And it's like each person has their own interesting combination lock called a personality. Now, where did that personality actually originate and grow from? That's the question. But there really isn't any such thing as time. In the truest sense, we experience change, right? Day and night, awake and asleep, hungry, satisfied, thirsty. We experience change constantly. But if you turn that into reality, which only you can do, by the way, any other creature on earth can't do what you can do with an experience. Other than, let's say, for example, the dog. You're walking the dog and you have this route that you follow. All the dog has is a basic memory. So you usually turn left at a certain point, and the dog puts that in the memory bank. And when you get to that point, the dog turns left, but you're not going to turn left that day. So now you have to redirect the dog. The dog has no idea that it's going to do that. There's a certain programming. Dog expectations. That's what it is. Dog expectations. Dogs do this because they experience the world and that's all they've got. They don't know how to process it other than this is the experience I had last time. It's interesting that dogs have a memory, and most creatures have a little basic memory, but it doesn't really serve them very well unless it's just part of the instinct for survival. But do we really need that? Well, I think at some level we do. Ronald Reagan said, trust, but verify. Well, how do you do that? How can a dog verify? Dog can't say to you, are we turning left here as usual? Just think about it objectively. So, yeah, this whole idea of time is so interesting to me because we're basing everything on an idea that we have about it that we don't even realize. Once you change your idea about it, then what happens is it's like the glue that sticks the experience to you, which we call trauma or memory. There's all kinds of chemical processes involved. the glue begins to become de-adhesed. It's just de-adhesive. Living in the moment is like tearing the loops and the hooks away from Velcro. And after a while, you've forgotten. This is what's so strange about children. You could be the best parent in the world, but at a certain point, the world has a greater influence on that, the effect on that mind. They won't remember what a great parent you were. They won't even remember you being a parent for the most part. They don't remember. Funny how a dog somehow has a better, sometimes, sense of direction than a human. Anyway, yeah, we have to step back and look at our relationship with the world, because the environment is not reality. That's just a component of it. When we take it in and we analyze it and we use it as the basis of our reality, that's when things get really strange. Now, being objective is a process. Sometimes people get it right away. Sometimes it takes people an entire lifetime. Depends upon how willing you are to let go. And eventually you have to let go if you have to let go. So why not make it sooner than later? Right? FHU.com, where you will find out more about the Be Still and Know exercise. And it will change your relationship with time and reality and every other thing. FHU.com. I'll be right back.
To dig your head in the sand because of the tendency of every person who has sinned to deny sin. As if denying sin, like if you don't see that you've sinned, you don't see how wrong you are, that's okay. And so denial is the biggest factor that aids and abets the evil in the world. If it wasn't for the factor of denial, this world would be a beautiful place. We see that we're wrong and we face it. It would have no more power over us. It's that simple. Well, what do you think alcoholics do? They do something wrong in their life. They get mad at their mother. They get mad at their wives. They go out in a fit of rage and do something dumb. And so they learn that drink is a way of helping them to run away from the guilt. And now they drink to run away from the guilt. That's burying the head in the drink. And the sooner they've done that, they get another guilt. Why do they have another guilt? Well, because the guilt is one thing, but then the denial of the guilt is a greater guilt.
Yeah, the domino effect is basically what it is. And the domino effect ends when you have just a moment of clarity. Like, what am I doing? And, what's this all about? And without that, then the domino effect is perpetual. It just keeps collapsing. The world keeps collapsing right in front of you as each domino falls. And you scratch your head and you say, why do I keep doing the same thing over and over again? When am I going to learn? Well, that's potentially the moment of repentance, let's say, where you turn around and you start to go the opposite direction of where you've been going. But see, most people, they find all those things like he was talking about, alcoholism. There's all kinds of isms. The food ism is the worst one. I mean, what's the number of people? I don't know. I think it's 50% of people are way overweight, and so many people, millions and millions of people have diabetes, and half of everybody's going to die of cancer anyway. Well, people then say, well, if I'm going to die of cancer, I might as well enjoy my life. I mean, if there's something's going to kill me, if everything's going to kill me, then I might as well get whatever I can get out of the pleasure side of life while I can. Think about it.
Part of spiritual development is to recognize the satanic tendencies that characterize you. and to fully wrestle with them and to integrate them. That's the thing. It's not so much to cast them away, it's to transmute them. And you can see the difference between people who've done that and people who haven't, at least to some degree, because people who haven't integrated the shadow at all are naive. And you can tell that when you look at them, and you can tell that when you talk to them. And because they're naive, they're often resentful as well because they get taken advantage of. And someone who's integrated that more, they're dangerous in the martial arts sort of way, which is they're dangerous, but they don't have to use it because their presence radiates implicit potential for havoc. And that's really necessary. It's one of the things that gives people self-respect.
Oh boy. Well, he's so brilliant. And he has such a real clear way of explaining things that seem to boggle our minds. But then when you hear it and you go, yeah, that totally makes sense. That's when the potential for you to advance and move forward in your life, that's when that potential starts to be realized. But, the old saying, there are none so blind as those who will not see. Sadly, you have to want to see. You have to want to see. But if you don't want to see, I can't even imagine. I when I watched The Chosen on television, it's hard to imagine what it would have been like to be in the presence of Jesus. Even though the show is very well done, and you can get the sense that it's almost like you're there. But you're there here in your mind. You're not there, you're there here in your mind. Because you place yourself there. There's a certain identification with certain things that you see. I know that Mel Gibson is making the next level of the Passion of the Christ. I think it is the resurrection. I can't wait to see that, because in a way, seeing is believing. So people, they don't see something, so they don't believe it, which is, to me, is a problem, because there's something in the Bible that talks about, blessed are those who haven't seen me, but believe in me anyway. So there's a stretch, there's a faith that has to be extended. There's faith, and that faith fills in blanks. Think about it. Faith fills in the blanks. It strengthens your capacity to know and understand and be shown. That's what it does. But without that, you are one of those none so blind who will not see. Yes, indeed. All right, so quick break here. It's the end of hour one, and I can only encourage you. There's nothing more I can do, is just to encourage you to get quiet. A few times a day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's really remarkable how much change can happen in those short moments. FHU.com. And welcome back. Yes, it's a bit of a heavy topic today, but I guess it's something that has to be discussed. Because, we can talk about the news, But the news is not really new, is it? It's the same old news recycled with different names attached. It's the same old thing that's happening over and over again. And these evil people that are doing the evil things that they're doing, they really have an expectation that somehow whatever they're doing will have some kind of meaningful outcome, as demented as they are. So I've got some Roy Masters, evil and its influence.
The guilt is one thing, but then the denial of the guilt is a greater guilt. I don't think you have a college education. You know, if you have a kid that does something wrong and you say, hey, Jimmy, what did you do that for? I see you did it. No, Jimmy will try to make you think you're crazy. He will try to wriggle it out with the kid next door. And it will be so obvious to you, the parent, that he's trying to make you think that there's something wrong with you, seeing something wrong with him. It makes you really mad. Can you imagine how mad God can get? I mean, how that can really cut you off from real salvation and bind you over to that which helps you make the excuse. In other words, you're burying your head in the sand, and here comes a friendly enabler and said, here's a drink. Bury your head in this and you'll feel better. A lot of people read my books and they say, I don't understand what this man's saying. That's because they're into denial. They think they pick up another book and there's another way of sort of stroking the little fat egos. And it starts telling them, saying, hey, wake up, hey, wake up, hey, wake up. You see, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. It's not saying there, you're all right, with a bunch of excuses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the knowledge trap. It's the knowledge trap that people fall into because they're looking, you've got to know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, then you keep looking as if whatever it is that you've just discovered might be it. I call it the conscious process of elimination. If you don't know what you're looking, you've got to have a sense. Everybody has a sense of what they're looking for. And, my dad tells a funny story about the guy in the military when he was, young man. And he walked around the fairgrounds picking up pieces of paper saying, that's not it. That's not it. Picking up pieces of paper until everybody thought he was out of his mind. And so then the military doctor, gave him a discharge, and he said, got his paper. He said, that's it. You got to have a sense of what it is you're looking for. And if you don't, you could spend your whole life looking. And then sadly, at some point you wake up to realize that it wasn't that complicated, because Jesus made it clear, know the truth. Now, if you're looking for truth, you see a lot of truth. You see it in a lot of things. And each truth is a domino in a domino effect of awakening. One truth leads to another, leads to another. And so really what you're looking for is truth. I mean, it doesn't have to be a particular brand of truth, right? When you go to the thrift store, you may look through the racks of things that are there, and you might find a nice, polo t-shirt or whatever, a brand name t-shirt. But you may go there looking for the particular brand, but just looking, right? You've got to have a sense that it is only the truth that you're looking for.
If you're harmless, you're not virtuous. You're just harmless. You're like a rabbit. A rabbit isn't virtuous. It just can't do anything except get eaten. It's not virtuous. If you're a monster and you don't act monstrously, then you're virtuous. But you also have to be a monster. Well, you see this all the time. Harry Potter's like that too. It's like he's flawed, he's hurt, he's got evil in him. He can talk to snakes, man. He breaks rules all the time. All the time. He's not obedient at all. But, he has a good reason for breaking the rules. And if he couldn't break the rules, him and his little clique of rule-breaking, troublemakers, if they didn't break the rules, they wouldn't attain the highest goal. So it's very peculiar, but it's a very, 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 very common mythological notion. You know, the hero has to be a monster, but a controlled monster. Batman is like that, you know. I mean, it's everywhere. It's the story you always hear. If you're going to be a fighter, you have to want to win, and you have to want to hurt people. I mean, not for the sake of hurting them. That's what makes you different than an evil person. But you have to have that capacity. You have to develop that. And, you know, that's the step on the way to enlightenment, weirdly enough, because that isn't what people think.
Oh, it's so good. The Batman analogy. Batman is haunted and he's tormented. But at the same time, he's driven to do good. You see, so there's a duality that can exist within us. A part of us that is very human on one side and very superhuman on the other. And you see, there are people, I mean, I look at the guys that are in the military. They go out and they see the most horrible things, terrible. People blown up, their friends shot in the head, whatever. And those kind of experiences can scar you for life. So you have to look at it this like you have to be the kind of person who is in control of the self. In that sense, Jordan goes on to make another point here.
There's been this attempt to identify masculine competence and power, let's say, but mostly competence with tyranny, and that's very, very hard on young men. It's also hard on young women, for that matter. But it's very helpful for people to hear that they should make themselves competent and dangerous and take their proper place in the world, because it's the alternative to being weak. And weak is not good. The people who shoot up the high schools, they're weak. They're weak. And life is a very difficult process, and you're not prepared for it unless you have the capacity to be dangerous. That doesn't mean that you should be cruel. It doesn't mean any of that. There's a statement in the New Testament, the meek shall inherit the earth. But the meek isn't well translated. It means something more like, those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the world. That's a way better way of thinking about it. You have to be powerful and formidable and then peaceful, in that order.
I have to say a prayer for Jordan Peterson. I know he's had challenges, health challenges. So Heavenly Father, sending this out for Jordan Peterson. Pray you will strengthen him and bring him back to life, and so that he can continue to help enlighten other people. Help him overcome that darkness that he's in, Father. Give him strength, give him rest, and then bring him back to us. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Definitely a great man. Fearless. You see, this is the kind of fearlessness. Your words have power. When you speak those words, you have to speak them with conviction. Speak whatever words, speak your prayers. Speak them into this world. And speak them with power. And, with knowing. Know the truth. Speak the truth. Now, it could get you in a lot of trouble. But sometimes trouble, there's good trouble. There's bad trouble. I believe that God takes you away from what takes you away from Him. I've seen it in my own life. It's painful. It's difficult, but God works in mysterious ways, doesn't He? So God has His ways and we have ours, and ours are not His. His are different. FHU.com, you will find out what it feels like to have a firewall for your mind with the Be Still and No exercise. I'll be right back.
It's just a belief that we all take for granted. Is it your experience that the now is moving along a line of time from the past to the future? Is the now moving? And how long does the now last?
I don't think I've ever measured it.
It doesn't. It doesn't last. The now doesn't last in time. There is no time for the now to last in. Now is not a moment sandwiched between these two vast spaces. There is no vast space outside of the now. The now is not a moment. These are New Age ideas. They have nothing to do with truth or reality. The now is not a moment. Now is eternity, the ever-present, not the everlasting. But when that now is filtered through the limitations of the mind, it appears as time. The mind is like a prism which refracts the now, which has no dimensions, into a single dimension of time.
Oh, it's so profound. These are the things, like what Einstein said about great spirits facing violent opposition from mediocre minds. These are things that need to be spoken over and over and over, because it's the ever-present, not the everlasting. It's different. If you live in the ever-present, then you are not dragging a chain of trauma or experience or pain or anxiety behind you. And when you get quiet, when you be still and know, this is Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. See, what else is more important in this life? Can you imagine if you could have all of the knowledge, anything that you could access through knowledge, through any means at all, if you could have anything, I would say, I would like to know God. That's what Albert Einstein said. Anybody who has had all the knowledge in the world will tell you that it's really pales in comparison to having a relationship with your Creator. I would like to know God. You know. Yeah.
And so I don't know about this country. Look how many people are here tonight. Not that many. If I was, a Crystal Cathedral preacher, hypocritical sneer face, and people are attracted to that by the sheer attraction of the hypocrisy. Those churches, you wonder why people go to those places, and people flock to them with these religious hypocrites, the swaggards and the bakers and this other fellow. And it's written, hypocrite is written all over his face. He sort of doesn't smile at you, he sneers at you. It's like a hate-love smile. But it's a sneer. It's almost attractive. There's a certain smile that is sort of like a naughty smile, like, I got you. But the victim only sees the smile. He doesn't see the gotcha side of it, But if you're really objective, you see the gotcha side and you want to stay the hell away.
Yeah, the preacher's name was Schuler. I don't know. That was many years ago. This audio is obviously from decades ago. But these kind of people, they would sneer, and they always do. Great spirits will always encounter violent opposition from mediocre minds, from stupid people, and stupid meaning having or showing a great lack of intelligence or common sense. Yeah. Yeah, sadly. But again, without temptation, where is your claim to virtue? Right? The story of Siddhartha, the Buddha. He was raised in opulence and protected from the world, and he had to get out. He had to get out from behind the walls that contained him. I don't know that much about Buddhism, but I do know one thing, and that is that he needed to be able to face the temptations of the world, to overcome them. That's what you got to do. Without temptation, you have no claim to virtue. You just don't. Because what is virtue if it isn't the power, the conscious power to say no to it? No matter what. No matter what.
Through one man's sin and the whole human race coming into existence. And that's the plan. A whole human, because if the good Lord would have made, why am I going on this subject? But I guess I can't help floating into this. If the good Lord had made, making free will, he would have made these two people, and every one of them would have chosen wrong, and they all would have died. And then he had started over again, and they all chosen wrong, and they would have died. See, because he knows that when you stand close to the general, there's always a sense of, well, when you stand close to your Creator, there's always the choices between being God or obeying God. God knew from the very beginning that the temptation would be too great for man to bear. He'd have to learn. He wouldn't realize the evil that he was getting into. There's no way he could realize what he was getting into until he gets into it. But the trouble is, when he gets into it, he doesn't realize it again. And when he realizes it, because the nature of the pride that goes before the fall is not to want to see that it fell.
Mm. Yeah, you ever seen a teenager that says, yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. I mean, some do. But for the most part, no. No, the average person immediately becomes defensive. Now, what is that? What is that all about? Well, it's about that thing we call pride. The pride of life. And the pride is a defense mechanism against God. It really is. And that's why the pride parades are so disgusting. Because they really are flipping off God. Look at us. We have no compunction. We don't worry about what you're going to do to us. We are just concerned with our own personal pleasure and our own reaction and rejection toward God and truth and other people. We don't care how we affect other people. We only care how we are affected. That's narcissism. Pride goeth before the fall. Yep. And it's the same now as it was in the garden. No different. Other than if you say, and if you're willing to admit, yep, I did it. I made a mistake. Okay, I'll accept the consequence. Quick break, FHU.com, and I shall return after these messages. And welcome back. I found something that I was looking for. This is an example of what happens when a child is raised to embrace the truth. And there's not many examples that you see of it very often. And this is not me patting myself on the back by any means. This is just an example of what children can be if they're given real love and not treated improperly when they do make mistakes. Because, see, this is what makes people so twisted up. It's like if they make a mistake and they're given love, they're more inclined to be honest about mistakes. But see, we've all buried mistakes. So this is my son, Andrew, at the age of 6 years old, 6.5 years old.
He's obviously insane. Look at him.
Uh-oh, I don't know what happened there.
He's obviously insane. Look at him.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, that wasn't what I thought it was. But this is.
Now, the thing you have as a result of fallen beings is now a framework. Because if you read the scriptures, especially those which are contained in the lost books, which don't come down to you in your regular scriptures, but Adam had these strong desires, and he was afraid to eat without permission because he realized what he'd done. And so the good Lord took some huge figs from the garden, had the angels throw them on the earth, and they, it took him a while for his intestines to adapt and all. It's a very interesting story. Food has got you. See, just watch out for every person who wants to do something for you for nothing, or wants to buy you gifts, or somehow instantly recognizes your talents when you haven't got any or something, but you think you do.
Yes, well, that's the truth of all of us, isn't it? That we all want to be accepted and seen the way we'd like to be seen, no matter what is true of us. I mean, when I was a kid, I was an insecure child. I don't even know why. I have no idea. But I was very insecure. And I remember the difficulty of childhood. I guess it's because my finger got cut off. And when that happened, my mom did not deal with it well. And so I took my reaction from her, and that kind of damaged me to a certain degree. Now, after a while, I began to realize that pain was just temporary. It didn't last forever. And sure enough, I was back digging in the dirt with my little cut off finger. And so this was a strange flip side, because I was a bit of a daredevil when I was growing up. And I did get hurt a lot. Physically. I would just do things and yeah, I would recover. But at the same time, I had a growing sense that was taking me down a very dangerous path. So that, compensating for being able to withstand pain, I have a very high threshold for pain. Not necessarily a good thing, because sometimes I will put off dealing with things that I need to deal with, teeth, other pains that I have, other issues that I have, put it off, thinking, I can, I'll deal with it later. So there are all kinds of side effects of not dealing with things in the right way, and especially with children. So, just a thought for you.
It could be your cat. Did you hear me talk about the lady with the cat the other day? The whole life revolved around the cat. Well, It used to be, the Garden of Eden says the serpent was the craftiest of all creatures. Of course, you don't say serpents can't talk, because I know parrots can talk, so maybe a serpent can talk, in those days. It maybe had mind communication, who knows? I have to tell you, evil can operate through animals. It could operate through anything. It can operate through anything, because it's where the need is. You're sitting alone in a bar and there's nobody around and there's a bottle of whiskey there and it can talk to you. Because evil is in everything. Where the heart cries out for it. It is operating through the object. And you get into it and it gets into you. And that's through the sin and through your rebelliousness. Evil makes a home in you and ruins your life. It ruins your health.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's a mouthful. That's a big, big mouthful. Rebelliousness. Yeah. Rebelliousness. There's constructive rebellion and there's destructive rebellion. And constructive rebellion is that ability to say no. Right? The ability to stand, and as Einstein said, great spirits will face violent opposition from mediocre minds, but to be able to stand and say no in the right way, anybody can do it getting angry. I mean, you see these people, oh my gosh, I like to watch these cop programs and the car chases, and they think they're going to get away. And these people who challenge the police, and especially they've done something wrong. Most of them are drug dealers. Most of them have firearms. Most of them have done they're just the dregs of society. Dressed in $100 T-shirts and $250 tennis shoes, but they think they're somebody. These people who are destructively rebelling. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And you think to yourself, what are they thinking? And they aren't thinking. They're just strange, reactive creatures that are basing everything off of adrenaline and anger.
It seduces you. It destroys your family. It destroys the whole nation. And it begins to ascend into power. It becomes political. The same MO is used. Bring the husband down. Make him of no consequence. Dethrone the man, enthrone the female. I have every great man who isn't great, who thinks he's great, ambition, see? Every man who's rebellious and wants to be something he can't, to maintain the delusion, purely hypnotic. That's what's in power in this world. You don't see it, but it embodies itself. And then pretty soon, as more and more people become corrupt, for instance, Barney Frank, let me put it this way. Somehow, a skunk smells bad. And if it smells worse, that's a better skunk. You can't say anything bad about a skunk that smells worse. You can only say something good about it. See? And so when you have the skunk mentality in this world, they will always look to that which is a greater skunk than itself because it looks more attractive, and you always elect those people to power.
Yeah, my friend Duke on the chat says, stinkers, not thinkers. That's funny. That's good. Stinkers, not thinkers. Yeah, you can't say anything bad about a skunk. This is why the left is so appalling. People like Jane Fonda. Because they're like those, they're stinkers, not thinkers. I mean, Jane Fonda saying that, I'll play it again.
We can stop fascism. We are at a point where we can, this is a crossroads. It's an existential crossroads. And we are people who can help determine which way humanity goes. What a great gift. What a tremendous opportunity. We're just so lucky. We have to use it with every ounce of intelligence and courage and wherewithal we have, because you're absolutely right. This is it. This is it. And, I just think COVID is God's gift to the left.
Yeah, this is
a terrible thing to say. I mean, I think it was a very difficult thing to send down to us, but it has ripped the Band-Aid off who he is and what he stands for and what is being done to average people and working people in this country. We can see it now. People who couldn't see it before, you know, they see it now, and we have a chance to harness that anger and make a difference. So I feel so blessed to be alive right now.
Yeah, if you could hear Satan talking, well, first of all, it's Gavin Newsom, and second of all, it's AOC. But Jane Fonda is a really amazing spokesperson for the devil, because everything she said was insane, but it sounded so logical to her. It seemed so logical. COVID, it was a hard thing to bring down. And now everybody can see what Trump is like. I mean, this is like insane. It's psycho babble. Beelzebub. But these people, they have no sense that they're being used as a mouthpiece for the dark side. They just don't. They think that they are speaking for God. These people, and the law of attraction preachers too, they really think they're speaking for God, and they've got all this hype. God wants you to have everything you ever wanted. No, God just doesn't want you to play him. That's what you get out of that role-playing thing. And know the truth, and it shall make you free. And you ain't God. And that's number one truth you got to realize. You are not capable. You got to be very, very, very careful. People like Jane Fonda. Oh my gosh. Special place in hell for certain kinds of people. Quick break here. FHU.com, you will find out about the Be Still No exercise. And because the Be Still part of it is in the Bible, it's very important. It's very important to begin that process of stepping back and being objective and learning to become the receiver of God's insight. That's really what it boils down to. Be Still and Know at FHU.com. I'll be right back.
My name is Andrew, and this is my poem. It's called I See the Rainbow. Up in the sky, I wish I could fly. Way up in the sky. A rainbow to me is like heaven's light. For other people, it's just a rainbow.
We were sitting at the dinner table and you asked me a question. What was it?
It's how was heaven created?
Well, that's an interesting question. Why did you ask me that question?
I was curious how it was created.
What I said to you was, there's some things you just don't know until you get there. Okay. And then you asked me another interesting question, which was,
will I know what I'm doing? I'm saying, like, when I'm dead, will I know what I'm doing and everything?
when you're dead, will you know what you're doing? Will you know that it's you?
No, I'm saying, will I know what I'm doing and everything when I'm dead and the angels and me is in heaven? When I'm dead, will I know that, like when it's Christmas, and when I know what I'm doing when I'm dead? Will I like feel it and know what I'm doing when I'm dead?
Your friend says a lot, right?
Yes.
And what were you telling her about that?
You should stop saying because I already know her secret.
Did you say that it was because she was afraid?
Yes.
For example, if you were playing baseball and you hit a window, what did you say?
I would say, only if I was scared, I would say, I hit the window with the baseball.
But if you were not afraid of being honest, then you would say, what?
I would say, I'm sorry, Mom, but it was an accident. I was playing baseball and then I hit it and then it went through the window.
When you see somebody that is kind of going, you can see that they're afraid to admit what they did, right?
Yes.
So how would you describe that to me?
I would describe it as afraid to tell something. Like, let's say, here's a good example that actually happened.
Yeah?
Remember that day I was selling my popcorn?
Yeah. What happened when you were selling your popcorn?
My friend, she wanted to buy popcorn and she wanted to buy caramel. And then when it was like dark like it is now,
Yeah.
she thought I was coming to play, and she came out, and then her dad came, and she said, "You come back here! Do you understand?" And then he said, "You're grounded for the rest of the night! Go back in your room!" So that actually happened.
And how did that affect you?
I was just sad for that little 6.5 years old girl. I felt bad for her to have such a mean father.
So what would you tell her about how to deal with that?
Well, I did. I said, "Your dad is angry because you know your grandma?" And she said, "Yes." And I told her, if your dad is angry, you know your grandma, she was probably angrier at him than she was at you. So you should probably say, "Dad, I know why you're angry." And my friend should just say, calm. She shouldn't say, "Oh, why did I do that? Ooh, why did I do that? Ooh, I don't know why I do that. Ooh, why did I do that?" And her dad would probably say, "Oh, did it?"
What were you telling me about food? What do you think about parents that don't give their kids the right kind of food?
I just think they're off limits.
You don't want to play with kids that eat the wrong kind of food?
Yeah.
Why?
I think they're like upside down.
What kind of food did they give them?
Like Sunny D, which is pure sugar, nothing else.
What else?
With a bit of Fruit Loops. Those are so disgusting.
What else? Potato chips?
Yeah, potato chips. Because we buy the healthy kind.
If you had a choice between carrot juice and soda, which one would you choose?
Carrot juice.
Why?
The soda has all the different kind of chemicals and all that kind of stuff.
What would you say to parents that don't give their kids the right kind of food?
I would say, why won't you give your kids good food so they won't grow up to be a fatty? Because I see kids all over the place with like big, fat kids.
And it's sad.
So maybe you should start buying your kid better food like carrot juice and like not all those chemicals juices. Fresh salads, not the ones that are packaged and everything.
What's your favorite fruit?
I would say apple. Carrot is my favorite vegetable.
Okay, we went to the park today. Tell me what happened.
Well, we're playing a game. I said no fighting in this game, and then all of a sudden these two kids started fighting.
How did you handle it?
I didn't handle it meanly, and they were like, one was pulling the other, and the other was punching, and they were kicking and punching.
And what did you do?
I said no fighting, otherwise you two cannot play with me.
So you kind of acted like an adult in that moment.
Yes.
And the boys stopped fighting?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the moral of this story?
If you stay calm and you don't get overreacted when two kids are fighting.
You can, help them resolve their conflict? Did things calm down?
Yes, they all calmed down and they said sorry.
What would you say to other kids?
I'll just say what I did to those two kids, I guess.
If children are on a playground or at school and they're in the middle of a fight, what would you say to them?
Let's say two kids were at the lunch table and one grabbed another kid's lunchbox because he was a big bully. And then I was right there, I was sitting there, and he took it away and ran. I said, and I would say to the boy, stay calm, it's okay, I'll go tell the principal.
That's my boy. That's my little boy, Andrew Masters, 6.5 years old. I did find the clip, obviously, but yeah, there you go. That's what you can do with children. And then those children end up growing up to be powerful individuals at some point. Thanks for listening, everybody. FHU.com is where you find out about how you can be a child again. Thanks.